Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. The Miami Heat, they sent themselves off the weekend. They split it. Embarrassing loss to the Dallas Mavericks, which we'll get to in a little bit. But what happened today is they did beat the New Orleans Pelicans 100-96. The Pelicans, who are really struggling right now, obviously without Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram being out. Honestly surprised they've held the fort as well as they have. But it's been a tough go for the Miami. Blew them out when it was at Smoothie King Center just a couple of days ago. And then today, it was a battle. I mean, it was a bat, and it was an ugly battle. To put it mildly, just a truly atrocious basketball game to watch. I mean, aesthetically was just a brutal just a brutal watch. Tons of turnovers, not a lot of scoring. It was a struggle. It was a struggle to get through this one, and it was a struggle to get this one to the finish line for Miami. At one point, they were trailing by 16 points in this game. Got outscored 32-23 out the gate. And, to their credit, look, they scrapped, they clawed, they found their way, and really did it without the element of the three-point shot, which is, been a season-long storyline that we've certainly touched on plenty, in that they don't have any reliable shooters on this team, probably outside of Tyler Hero. Everybody else, it's a question mark on whether or not they're going to have it day in and day out. Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson being hurt. It's just been a season-long thing with them where they have not been able to rely upon anybody to give them what is become the most dangerous weapon in the game. And you don't know if it's going to come back. I feel like this is enough of a sample size to feel like it's not, you can't be confident that it's ever going to turn around. If you really think back to it, Miami, their shooting woes plagued them in the postseason last year too. And there has not been a lot of roster change. They were tremendous at it last year. It was a big time weapon for them. But it has not been the case since the playoffs of last year. And so I don't really know. I don't know when you can say, hey, Max Strus is going to bust out of this. We've certainly seen some moments from Gabe Vincent as of late. But it's a flip of the coin. It's a flip of the coin to know whether or not it's going to be there for them on any given night. And it makes it tough. It makes it tough for a couple of reasons. It makes it tough. You think back to games like against Atlanta. You get to those big time holes, you really have to claw for everything to get back there. One of the things that's frustrating, I think, and has frustrated Heat fans this year is, the Heat will get out to big time leads, but they have been the king of the clutch game. Like it don't matter what, it feels like they're going to give up 4 3-pointers, and that 20-point lead is going to be evaporated real quick or shrink real quick. And then all of a sudden they're in a dogfight. And Miami has just not been in that area where they can just do that so quickly. They really do have to scratch and claw, it feels like, for every single point. And you look at a game like tonight, like 100-96, might as well be a game out of the 90s as far as how scoring is these days in the NBA. It was that kind of a crawl. I would say the biggest bright spot, though, of today, I mean, if you're going to take any light out of beating a battered Pelicans team on your home floor at 3:30 in the afternoon, is not Jimmy Butler's man bun, even though it is a tremendous look for Jimmy. It's like gone now. Feels like, a year of Jimmy doing a lot of morphing, from the dreads to, the traditional braids, to then he's got now he's got the man bun going on. Like, he's going through a lot of phases. Not back to the OG Jimmy Butler look. I would like to see him bust that back out. I think that's his and his alone, that signature Jimmy Buckets look. But he's always keeping us on our toes this year, that's for sure. But the man bun, honestly, I thought that he rocked it pretty well. But the biggest story was not his man bun. It was not Kids Day on the broadcast, which, what else needs to be said about it? It was for me, it was Kyle Lowry. I mean, Kyle Lowry and that run that he got on, he scored 9 straight points for Miami in this game in the fourth quarter in a huge moment, and just really was feeling it from everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I do mean everywhere. And I think the biggest thing was to see Kyle Lowry put his head down and get in the paint and score some buckets, because he's been relegated to essentially a spot up shooter. And no knock on Kyle Lowry shooting. He's what is he, a top 15 all time in 3-point makes in the league. He's a really good 3-point shooter, but he feels like he's been so hands off on everything, basically. He comes back a few games ago and he scores some buckets out of the gate, and then it's like you never hear from him again. And it was almost like Kyle Lowry was like, "Excuse me, everybody, I'm kind of feeling it." And everybody was just kind of looking at it. Even Bam was like, after the game, talking to talking in the winner's circle, was like, "Oh yeah, we know, it's good to see, Kalo still got him in there." I don't have the exact quote, but it was something to that regard. It was like, we know that Kalo's still capable of that and things like that. And it was huge. I mean, he hasn't scored over 15 points in the game since the day after Christmas against the Timberwolves. It's been just, single digit performances. His last game's 5 points, 7 points, 4 points, just non-existent. And yeah, he's been dealing with a knee injury, and he certainly maybe they burned the candle out a little bit early on him. They really went pedal to the metal with his with his minutes early on in the season. So maybe he needs a little bit to recover, but look, they need him. They need him to show that he's going to be along here contributing something. This cannot just be, hey, you're Jimmy's friend and you make a ton of dough and you have a great resume. We're always going to respect that. Like, Kyle Lowry is at a point where, like, look, the Heat fan and the Heat franchise is probably like, invested a lot in you. We got damn busted for tampering for you. Like, it's time to show up and put your imprint on the game and be capable of the guy that you are. And it was just nice to see, like, Kyle be confident in his scoring ability today, because I don't feel like we've gotten a great look at that other than some flash moments in his Heat career. And I do think that, it does become a question of, you look at the performances of other guys or the growth of Oladipo and Tyler Hero as a playmaker, and you're wondering to yourself, like, is Kyle Lowry going to close games? Is he going to be out there? And tonight he reminded you, this is what I can do on certain nights to really, really provide something for that team. So that was important. I really think out of anything, he needed a game like this just to kind of give a peek. And look, it's against a Pelicans team that's not great right now, not playing good basketball right now, but I want to see it against anybody. I mean, look, it didn't seem to matter what the opponent. He was almost a ghost when it came to anything, because it's not like you have Kyle Lowry out there for his defensive prowess now, other than, taking a key charge every now and then. No, I mean, I'm not looking for Kyle Lowry to go out there and score 20 every single night, but it is nice to know, like, on a night where people are struggling to score baskets, can somebody come through with something? And he did. He was actually one of the rare ones who was successful from downtown tonight. He was putting his head down and coming up with some key baskets. He was scoring at every level. And it was, I used to hate this when they said this about D-Wade, but it was like, oh, there's vintage Kyle Lowry. Like, that's the guy. That's the skill set that you sign up for when you bring in the true point guard. What he's not only a guy capable of being the floor general or QB1, but can do that stuff. So more, I mean, like, yeah, like that, if he can harness that in any way, I do think it's going to be huge for Miami, because, like, they need, especially on nights, like, if a guy has a night off or is not, those are the times where you want Kyle to step up. And I thought, important that they got this one over the finish line, especially after the stink that happened on Friday. I mean, it was as Spo said, that Dallas game was a wasted day, one of their worst performances of the season, because as the Heat have also not had a lot of blowout wins, they also haven't had a lot of blowout losses. Most of their losses have been very, very close and have come down to the wire and have been hotly contested. And so to see them against Dallas just struggle and just never really be in it at any point was really disappointing, because, Dallas, it's not like Dallas is a world beater, but, they got one of the best players in the world in Luka Doncic. So it's always a fun rivalry between Miami and Dallas. And it just felt like, Miami just didn't, I don't know it's just a case of, look, this is what they've been. They've teed it up and down all year. I don't know if it was everybody partying with Tyler Hero's birthday dinner a little bit too much. Who knows? But it was a very, very disappointing showing by Miami to, a team that they're definitely capable of going out there and looking better than. And I think that's the thing that's probably shocking about this season is you have to mind the emotional up and downs for Miami because all of their games are so coin flippy and could go either way. It's been really hard to overreact or get a gauge of them, other than maybe this is just who they are, which is just, a decent, barely over 500 team, and it's going to be nothing more, nothing less. If they come out and beat Boston on Tuesday, I wouldn't be shocked. If they got drubbed by Boston, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, they're so Jekyll and Hyde, you just never really know. And also, you don't know, maybe it's a close game and you don't know which bounces are going to go their way in that one. But, certainly getting this one tonight over the finish line was necessary. And it was not easy because, holy crap. First of all, Pelicans get a 5-second violation, which they were freaking out about. He'd get the ball back, and then they can't get the damn ball, and they have to call timeout not once, but twice. Kyle's trying to inbound it. They put Bam and Vic on the other side of the court. He can't get the damn ball, and then he throws up a grenade to Jimmy Butler, which ends up being a jump ball. They get the ball back. Yeah, man, just, and then CJ McCollum misses a wide open go-ahead three that Victor Oladipo is able to rebound and get the clutch threes, but it was a painful game to get to the finish line for Miami, but they did, thankfully. And they got a big one coming up on Tuesday, which, there's not a lot of signature wins you can get in an NBA season, but beating the top seed in the East, coming into your house, obviously rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals, that'll always make you feel better and feel like you truly, like, not only are you going in the right direction, but you're going to be at a point of the season you haven't been record-wise, and also you're like, all right, we can hang with these guys. So important one coming up on Tuesday, and I'll be boots on the ground for that one, so we'll have lots of reaction to it for you here, and let's see what they can do.